Hey YouTube land, Tycondrius here doing another action figure review, and welcome once again to my channel. So today I'm taking a look at more McFarlane Warhammer 40,000 figures. Now these are, I'm going to do the two of these together because they're essentially the same figure. But these are for the upcoming video game for Warhammer 40,000 called Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. Now as far as I know, it's a multi-platform release, so it should be coming out for PC, Xbox and PS5. I'm not sure if it's coming out on the Switch. That's the only thing I don't know if Nintendo has the license for it. So what I'm having a look at is the Veteran Guardsman artist proof. You can see his box here. It's fairly plain, standard affair, and it has an image of the figure on the back. I do miss that they used to do the actual figures in the line on the back of the boxes. They don't seem to do that anymore with this, with these lines. And then the other figure is, if I don't knock everything over, is just the Veteran Guardsman, the actual painted version, the normal standard version. So this is the Veteran Guardsman. Now there is several figures in the line. There is three versions of the the Traitor Guardsman. There's the two versions of the regular Guardsman, which we have here, and then there's two versions of the Ogren, or the Ogren, however you want to pronounce it, which is the mega figure, which I don't have yet. I will be getting one at some point, but it's the mega figure that comes in both a standard version, like painted version or pre-painted, and a artist proof. Now the reason why I'm using the doing the artist proof together with this guy is because essentially he is the same figure, just minus a few bits. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the boxes out of the way so I can bring stuff in for comparisons later and have the room to do so. But for the most part, these are essentially the same figure. So you can look at the sculpting. The main differences is the head. Instead of having, the helmet is the same, but instead of having this rebreather and goggles set up, he has an open face. So it's designed so you can paint him however you want. Following this review or video review, I'm going to throw this guy into some hot boiling water, take him apart, and then start painting him. I have a plan of which way I'm going to paint him, and when it's done, I'm going to bring him back or do a video on him painted up. But essentially, for the most part, he is a carbon copy of this guy, even right down to the piece on the front. These guys are based on Cadian uniforms. There is a whole host of different regiments for the Imperial Guard, some of which are, there's guys called the Catachans, or Catachans, whichever way you want to pronounce it, and they're done, think Rambo. So they're like muscular, Rambo, Commando, any of those kind of action kind of films. That's what the Catachans look like. They're basically guys, jungle warfare guys, basically tank tops, and even though they're supposed to be wearing armor like these guys, they're wearing tank tops, and they have bandanas or do-rags or whatever stuff. They have those. Now, accessory-wise, again, there is a difference. So the main difference for the accessories on the artist proof, he comes with the standard issue. Well, I wouldn't say standard issue. It's a sniper design issue, but it's like the standard las gun, which is what the basic infantry for nearly every guard unit has. And then the Veteran Guard, the painted one, is kind of more a sergeant style guy. So he has the chainsword, which is really nicely done. It is smaller than the Marine one, and he has a las pistol, which again is very nicely done. It is in two-tone kind of silver, so you have this dark gunmetal for the main body, and then for the handle you have like a more bright metal. Similar with the chainsword, you have dark gunmetal for the main casing and handle, and then for the saw blades you actually have a brighter one. In fact, as I have him right standing next to me, I'll just pop it out of his hand if it wants to pop out. Hopefully it won't knock everything over. I have the chainsword that came with the Dark Angel's Intercessor assault figure. So you can see the scaling differences. There is a scale difference between the Imperial Guard or the Astra Militarum. I know I called them Imperial Guard, but nowadays they're called the Astra Militarum. Just like the Space Marines are called their Astartes. So you can see the chainsword has a scale difference, which is quite nice. Now, I know a lot of people have been whinging, well, not whinging, I won't say whinging, but they've been voicing their opinion about the scale of the Guardsmen compared to the Space Marines, and they have a point, but to me it's not too big a deal. Now I'm gonna try and get this guy's chainsword back into his hand so I can bring it in with him in its hand later on. Sorry about that. So I'll run down the articulation first. So the head is on a ball joint. You can get some good side and around. Arms are on a ball joint or swivel, can swivel all the way around, can hinge out. The shoulder pad is glued into the top of the shoulder just before the bicep swivel, which is kind of annoying because it does tend to get into the way if you're wanting to do the two-handed poses with the las gun. It does kind of move out of the way, but I would stress be careful with these because I have a feeling they will pop out or the glue might just fall off. So, but he does have that. I think these are supposed to be sergeant markings. I'm not too sure, but he doesn't have too much in the way of markings on him except for the Imperial logos, the belt buckle, and that one stripe on his shoulder. He's pretty much cast in the plastics that he needed to be. So the shoulder pads are done in a green, dark green plastic. His lower arms are done in dark green. His hands are done in the dark green. The knee pads are a separate piece that look like they're glued over the knee, and they're dark green. The shin guards, green. Boots, black. He has a subtle kind of very dark brown. I'm not sure if it's coming across on camera. I wouldn't say it's black because it's not as dark as the boots, but there is a slight color variation between the actual pants. You know, between the greens, I'd say it's almost a dark brownish green, but you can see on his harness has this kind of olive drab green to it as well. He does have a canteen, he does have a grenade, he does have pouches, but they're all done in the same color plastic as the straps. You could go to town and paint up the grenade and maybe the canteen a different color. It all depends on what you want to do with this guy. He has, like, I think this is supposed to be like a Vox communicator. It kind of looks like some sort of communication device on his thing, and he has extra pouches. But like, oh, and the other paint apps are the chains here holding this plate in place, which is actually done in grey. And this is, oh, these chains are grey as well. And then he's pretty much a standard affair. So he has dual jointed elbows. Now, it does look a little unsightly when you have the elbow moved, but it is what it is. He has those rocker joint for the wrists and swivel. He does have rockers on the ankles and a hinge. He can do the splits that much. It is hindered by his web gear and stuff on there. He does have that kind of rubbery diaper thing, so it does tend to hinder his forward motion. Because the way he's sculpted, he has these extra straps, which I believe are supposed to be part of this, coming down on his legs. And it does hinder the motion to get his leg forward. You can do it, but it is a bit of a pain. He does have dual jointed knees. I can get his knees to do his dual jointedness. And then he has the upper rotation. Now, I would stress be careful with these because this harness piece is glued into place from what it looks like onto the chest plate. So you won't get too much range of movement on this. You'll get some, but not a whole lot. You can get kind of forward, kind of back. It is a dual piece. If you can see here, there's actually a separation on his back where the top half meets the lower half of his waist, but it doesn't tend to give him any more range of movement than he already has. So it is hindered. He does hold his weapons quite nicely. So now these guys are tended to be army builders, so you can go down buying multiple guys of the ones with the gas mask. The helmet, as far as I can tell, I'm I'm not sure if it's on this one. I think the helmet on this one, it might be molded to the face, but the helmet on the artist proof, when I get him in here, is actually a separate piece. So you might be able to get a head off some other figure and replace it with the helmet. But looking at the helmet on this one, it's hard to tell if it's a separate piece to the head with the gas mask piece or the rebreather. But he does stand quite nicely. And they all come with this basic stand. So there's peg holes on the bottom of the feet. And he does have the toe articulation as well. If I can get him to do it, it's hard. I haven't actually used it on mine because I tend not to. But there is the front toe articulation on these guys. It's just very, very stiff on mine. So I can just get him to stand there. Maybe it might be easier to do it on the artist proof. No, but you can see the hinge where it is, and on the artist proof it's easier to see where that joint is. So artist proof guy, run down quickly, exact same thing, exact same articulation. Only difference is he has a more wider stance gripping hand on his left hand. This is for you to do a dual-handed pose with the lasgun. Again, he does hold the lasgun just as well. He has all the same issues on the chest area with the harness. Now, as I said, I am going to be taking this guy apart, so I'm going to be interested to see how well, you can even see the glue there on the thing, how well this guy comes apart for repainting purposes. You can see it easier on the head. This helmet is a separate piece, but it'll take a bit of heat to get it to pop off the head, or what is underneath the head, underneath the helmet. So, but for the most part, he is exactly the same. So for height wise, I'll get in the old tape measure. As you can see, these guys stand under 7 inches. They're about 6.5 roughly, or are they around the 7? I think actually they might be just, yeah, they're just hitting the 7-inch mark. So they are tall enough. So if I bring in another McFarlane human scale figure, because I have one here handy. Oop. Good old Johnny Cage. Bring in Johnny Cage. You can see Johnny Cage is actually taller than these guys. And he's from the Mortal Kombat line. So he does actually stand at like a height taller than these. So they are a bit shrunk for the most part. And then for other 40k figures, I'm going to have to make some room for the mega figure because I have one of the orcs to bring in. But I'll bring in my Sisters of Battle, or the Adaptosauratus, Sister of Battle, Battle Sister. So she stands a little bit height taller than the Guardsman, which as they should be, because these women are wearing power armor, or powered armor, however you want to pronounce it. So you can get her leg into the right stance just to get her to stand. Come on. Yeah, she's going to flop over, I can guarantee it. She's just going to go clunk onto something. For the most part, we'll try and get her to stand. So remove these guys forward a bit. I'm going to bring in the Space Marine to bring in behind them so you can see the height wise. And I need to move his chainsword arm again. More neutral position. So you can bring in the Astartes Space Marine. So you can see he does stand taller than him, but most depictions of Guardsmen, Guardsmen are generally this height, just above, just literally near the chest eagle, or the Aquila, the chest Aquila. So there's a scaling, and these guys should be smaller. They should be around the same height. And technically, depending on how you view the lore, they should be about the same height as these guys. So they should be around the 1/12 scale. Because if you look at depictions of Guardsmen next to Space Marines, they're always just around the height of like their chest eagle. So they are a little bit on the taller side for Guardsmen, but you can just write it off that that's the planet that they come from. They're just tall Guardsmen. And then the other size comparison, because I have them handy. And unfortunately, I don't have one of the other Xenos figures, which is the Gene Stealer. But I have the, whoa, if I can get him in the back here, the Orc Knob in Mega Armor, which I have done a review for, I believe. And you can see he does stand pretty tall compared to both Marine and the actual Guardsman. And then as for the final comparison, because I have him next to me, and I'll bring him in, but he's going to get his own review. Here's the painted version. Oops, put his feet down. Painted version of the Trader Guardsman. So essentially there's a lot of, I wouldn't say reuse parts, but there's a lot of parts that are swapped over between these guys. For the most part, he's mostly all new sculpting or new components. So there you go, guys. There's a quick look at the artist proof and the regular veteran Guardsman from the Darktide game. This guy's also from Darktide, the Trader Guardsman. I did take a picture of the Trader Guardsman and I posted it up on Twitter, and in it I did ask McFarlane, I don't know if they'll respond to it or even if they'll look at it, but I did ask them if they are going to go ahead and make other figures for the Trader Guards. I mean, they're essentially army builders. They could really go to town doing variations on these, and people would probably buy them because they'd be pretty much easier to get. Like, even if they did a painted up version of the artist proof with a, you know, with skin tone, that would be pretty cool. But it is what it is. But all in all, they are pretty sweet figures. So as I said, I'll just throw them in there. So great figures. Do recommend getting them if you're a fan of the Astra Militarum or the Imperial Guard. I am hoping to go to town painting up this guy. I have a color scheme in mind. It's just whether or not I can pull it off, but I do hope it'll look pretty cool when it's done. Now, the uniform is slightly different to the normal Guardsman, the regular Imperial Guard Cadians. The normal Cadian kind of uniform has this kind of lower shirt piece on them, on the miniatures, but these guys don't have it. But you can get away with it. It's not a deal breaker or anything like that, but they do look good. I do hope we will get, because Astra Militarum have been recently announced at the time of this recording, they've been recently announced to have a new codex coming out in the actual GW line, and new miniatures coming. Hopefully we'll get new repaints or retools of these guys as those figures from McFarlane. I know we're getting a bunch of stuff from Joy Toy in the Imperial Guard range or the Astra Militarum range. There's a ton of stuff coming from them, but we'll get to it when they come out. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Cheers!